giving this bird a bath, they found something scary. He, along with some other animals from today's video, were found in a slightly unusual way, and that's why they all ended up becoming special in some way. Are you curious to find out why these animals are like this and here in today's video? Ready your fingers to drop a like. Don't subscribe to forget. It's something very important. Ring the notification bell and tag along, because I'm Tiago Tadeo and welcome to the Upside Down. Golden macaw. In the city of Porto Nacional, in Tocantins, a macaw of the Ara Ararana, I almost didn't manage to say that one, surprised the local biologist. This was because the animal, also known as blue and yellow macaw, showcased colors completely different from the usual. The most common coloration to these birds is a mix of yellow and blue, with occasional greenish areas. However, biologist Wanieli Pacao noticed that the animal in question was completely yellow, guys, being almost a golden macaw. After different tests about what could have caused that phenomenon, Pascal figured out the likely cause. Lutinism is when an animal's melanin is affected, interfering with part of its normal coloration. This genetic mutation happens in birds and normally doesn't interfere directly in their organisms. In the case of Tocantins' golden macaw, this melanin problem caused the animal's plumage to be more, which made it so that the bird stood out among its kind. This is a very rare occurrence in nature, and at the same time, very beautiful, right? Chocolate panda. For the next animal on our list, I would like you to close your eyes and picture a panda. Did you do that? What did the panda in your mind look like? Well, I bet it was black and white, right? And that's how you should have pictured it. After all, pandas are like this. But what if I told you guys that there is a brown panda? The animal known as Kizai is the only brown panda in the world. He was found in a nature reserve in China when he was still a baby. His mother had abandoned him because of his genetic mutation, but lucky him, some biologists managed to save him. Nowadays, Kizai lives in a nature reserve and has become a Chinese star. After all, it's not every day you find a chocolate panda, right? Studies are frequently made about this animal, and there was an attempt some time ago to see if he could have cubs, but he hasn't managed any so far. Here lies the question. Can he have babies that are also brown? Very interesting, right? White bat. Back to Brazil, but this time, in Campinas, Sao Paulo, we have our next animal in unusual conditions on the list. A woman called Aline Cristina dos Santos noticed with her sons that there was a family of bats staying in a palm tree in the backyard of their house. Up to here, all is normal. After all, bats love trees and can be seen even in big cities, right? What is really more astounding is that one of the bats was white as snow. Surprised by this, Aline ended up taking pictures of the animal, and with those, the local TV news channel made a report about the animal. According to the biologist Rodrigo Araujo Perez, the animal was not an albino and instead had leucism. This conclusion was made because Campinas' white bat still had melanin in his eyes and in some parts of his body. In case he was truly an albino, neither of these parts would have this emet, and usually the eye should be red. Now, regardless of the reason, it is striking that this family of bats doesn't seem to care about these differences, right? Cinder. Speaking about respecting differences, the next animal on our list was very dear in the beginning of the 21st century, even being quite different. It's the chimpanzee Cinder that lived in St. Louis Zoo in the United States. The primate lost all her body's fur when she was still 5 months old, and that gave her a very alternative appearance. In the case of Cinder, she had a disease called alopecia universalis. This is a disease that attacks the immunological system of the animal directly and makes it so they lose all their fur. Alopecia can also affect humans, being a disease without cure until now, despite being less aggressive in our species. Despite not having any fur in her body, Cinder was always very dear. When she came to pass in 2009 at 14 years old, both the primates that lived with her and the caretakers were deeply mournful. Cinder wasn't the only famous chimpanzee to have this disease. The duo Mongo and Django also had their stardom on the internet. Both became famous after a video showing them fighting with other monkeys of the zoo they lived in went viral. If Cinder was a curious case, imagine having two animals with the same condition in the same place. It's even rarer, isn't it? Elephant piglet. I spoke up till now about some mutations that resulted in beautiful appearances, but the next animal on our list did not benefit from a lot of its genetic mutation. Known as elephant piglet, this small animal was born with a very peculiar condition. He had a long snout like an elephant's, which surprised a lot the Filipino farmers. Besides the trunk, this piglet was born with only one eyeball, and that was enough for the farmers to call the authorities, who showed up to the place too late. The small piglet did not last longer than a few hours. Differently than its brothers, that was analyzed and it was verified that, well, everything was okay with them. According to reports from back then, he was the only one of the litter that was born in that way. A rare occurrence, but that happened in other moments, like the case of this pig that was born with a trunk in China and sadly had the same fate. Seasoned seagull. While giving this bird a bath, people sure did find something scary, you know? Or something at the very least curious, right? The golden bird you see in these images is actually a common seagull that lives in England. And this animal was found in unusual circumstances by some people and taken into Tiggly-Winkle's Wildlife Hospital, a hospital literally dedicated for the caring of animals. According to the medical team, they didn't know what to expect of the beautiful phoenix that arrived at the veterinary hospital. He couldn't fly, and at first glance, no one knew what was the paint on the animal. It was only after a bath and of a more careful analysis that they were able to verify the seagull was covered in curry or turmeric, a very famous seasoning used in cooking all around the world. Both seasonings are yellowish and would be able to stain the bird's feathers. What is still unknown is how did the seagull manage to be completely seasoned, right? To achieve that, it would mean that it had to dive into a bucket or a tank full of curry. Well, fortunately, this was a light case, we could say. After a bath, all was well. And about the fact we spoke of earlier, this was not the first time the hospital received a seasoned seagull, you know. They had already taken care of another case where another seagull fell into a bucket of tiki masala chicken, which is basically another dish where there's a lot of curry. You can see birds really like curry, huh? Pikachu. If I asked you if Pikachu exists, what would be your answer? I bet that, well, it's an easy question, right? No, he doesn't exist, Tiago. These are creatures from the world of Pokemon. Well, yeah, I'll agree. That's why when scientists found a yellow common bushtail possum, they couldn't help themselves but call the animal Pikachu. After all, outside the fantastic world, why not believe that animals can also be, Pokemon? Well, the animal in question is not yellow by nature. He is of a darker coloration. However, a yellow specimen was found in Australia. When talking about Australia, we can't doubt anything, can we? And the simple fact that it exists there is enough to cause a commotion in social media. Like most animals with different conditions, be it genetical modifications or that something happens to change their color, all is related to the matter of their melanin. As I explained in other cases here, the difference is that we don't have a golden bird, but a potential Pokemon, right? But so this is it, guys. Write down in the comments which animal you like the most to get to know. We'll see each other in the next video. Goodbye, take care, and until the next one, thanks.